Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. And here we are again for another week, episode 24. How are you all doing this week? I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope that this show provides a brief respite from whatever it is that you're going through in life. So before I got a lot of stuff to talk about for this week, but before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. One other thing that I wanted to, I said something last week, and I misspoke, and I wanted to correct what I said last week. So last week I mentioned that, in my opinion, James Gunn has only directed one bad movie, and it was Slither. I misspoke. The movie I was talking about is Super, with Elliot Page. Not Slither. Slither's awesome. Slither's great. Super is not so much. I don't know how in the blazes I got those two movies confused. Maybe it's because they both start with S. I don't know. They're both completely different kinds of movies. So I do apologize for that. It was Super that I was talking about. Slither's great. If you have a chance, watch Slither. So, with all that out of the way, like I said, there's a lot to talk about this week. So let's get started with this. So, James Gunn, speaking of James Gunn, he has his Superman movie coming next month, which looks really good. I hope it's awesome. I'm excited for it. Looking forward to it. So James Gunn has commented about the future of the DCU in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. This article is on CBR. I believe this was published on June 10th. So this new Superman movie will be the first film in the DCU. We've previously had Creature Commandos, which was the first DCU TV series, which was awesome. But Superman will be the first DCU film. And so this article is on CBR, and about halfway down, it says that James Gunn commented on the future of the DCU after Superman in a new interview with Entertainment Weekly. Curiously, the filmmaker noted when asked if he was working a sequel, "What I'm working on is in some way, I mean, yes, but is it a straight up Superman sequel? I would not say necessarily." This is interesting to me. So, this says to me that a sequel to the Superman movie Superman might not be the central character in the sequel, which I find very interesting. Not necessarily bad, just interesting. We could see something reminiscent of, um, and I know they're two completely different franchises, and I'm just comparing the two. We could see something where, similar to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, where it's it's a it's a Superman sequel of sorts, but not a direct sequel. Um, Superman is in the movie, but we have all these other characters that come together, including Superman. Um, and I'm sure that James Gunn is going to do something completely different. And you know, but the idea, this that's what this says to me, is that this it's not going to be a straight up Superman sequel. He would That's the vibe that I'm getting, is that Superman might not be the central character, and that's very interesting. I think, you know I trust in James Gunn. I really do, and um, I'm excited to see. I'm looking forward to this Superman movie, and if it's good, I can't wait for the sequel. Um, the idea, and look, this Superman movie is already bringing in a bunch of other characters as well, so we might see more of that in the sequel. I'm looking forward to that. To this. I'm interested to see what James how James Gunn develops this new DC universe. I'm very much looking forward to it. Anyway, what do you guys think? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. Okay, so this next bit of news, if it will, oh dear. Okay, here we go. So, um, there is an upcoming sci-fi horror movie called The Backrooms, which was announced. Let's see, which was announced 2 years ago, um, and let me see here. So, um, we haven't heard anything about the project since. Well, uh, let me see here. A couple of weeks ago, it was announced. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman. So, Variety reports that A24, that's A24 Studios, has officially given a green light to the project, which has Chiwetel Ejiofor attached to star. Chiwetel Ejiofor was most famously in 12 Years a Slave, which is incredible. Very emotional movie, very powerful movie. And so A24 has officially given a green light to the project, which has Ejiofor attached to star, with Renate Reinsve, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, joining him in the cast. I'm not familiar with Renate Reinsve. So this article continues. The Backrooms is based on a series of viral videos that Kane Parsons released through his YouTube channel, Kane Pixels. Kane Parsons will make Kane Parsons. It will be this is the first time. I want to make sure I get this. I want to make sure I get this right. Sorry about this. Um, so Kane Parsons, uh, it will be his um, directorial debut at the age of 19 years old, which is insane. Um, so the Backrooms is based on a series of viral videos Kane Parsons released through his YouTube channel, Kane Pixels. If you were to splice those videos together, they would reach feature length, but the feature version of the Backrooms is going to be something entirely new. So this article does go on to say, Deadline previously noted that details as to the plot of the sci-fi horror feature under wraps. But in the original short, a young filmmaker's fall into another dimension leaves him wandering through an unsettlingly yellow, empty, and labyrinthine office space, which may or may not be home to otherworldly beings. The film's title and setting draw inspiration from the imagery of a creepy pasta or internet urban legend published to the website 4chan in 2019. Okay, this sounds really cool to me. The other sci-fi horror, another dimension. Take my money now. Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of my favorite actors. He was obviously great in 12 Years a Slave. He's Love Actually. He was Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange. He's an Oscar caliber actor. I am very intrigued by the fact that the director, Kane Parsons, is only 19 years old or 20 years old, and he will be directing this movie. That has to be some kind of record for youngest directorial debut ever. And when you get an actor the caliber of a Chiwetel Ejiofor involved in the project, even as a first-time director and so young, I think Chiwetel Ejiofor, the caliber of an actor involved in this kind of a project with a first-time director, that says a lot. That's my opinion. But I'm not too familiar with Renate Reinsve, so I can't comment on that. But all I can say is like this sounds intriguing to me. I hope this directorial debut goes well for Kane Parsons. I'm very much this genre is right up my alley. So I hope it goes well, and I hope it's good, and it sounds interesting. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Well, this next bit of news, if you guys haven't heard already, is going to excite a whole bunch of people. So I think maybe, what's today? June 22nd. 10 days ago, Spaceballs 2 was announced. Now, I swear to Odin that if they don't call it Spaceballs 2, The Quest for More Money, they better call it that. Oh my God. So Spaceballs 2 was announced. Okay. I'm going to say something that might cause a bit of a stir. But that's what my show is for. I think Spaceballs is overrated. Do I think it's funny? Absolutely. Do I think it's one of the greatest spoof movies of all time? No. Do I think it's one of the funniest movies of all time? No. Um, I think it. I think it's a. I think it's funny. You know, it makes me laugh. Um, I think it was. I think it was a rare misstep for Mel Brooks. Um, you know, and but there are people who um, think entirely differently, and that's fine. But I think it's overrated. It's certainly funny, but it's I don't think it's the greatest. So what's interesting? So there's been some casting news regarding Spaceballs too. Okay, so as far as I know, Mel Brooks is not directing this movie. He will be in the movie at the age of 98, 99. He's going to be in the movie, but he is not directing this. I don't know who's directing. But some cast members are coming back, and I just want to say it really it really sucks that John Candy can't come back. It it's sad and it's unfortunate. You know, I just wanted to say that, I think respectfully John Candy's presence as Barf will be missed. Uh, you know, so casting news. Okay, the big piece of casting news that I'm excited about is Rick Moranis coming back as Dark Helmet. Oh my god. So for those who don't know, Rick Moranis, the last time this article was there's this article on CBR published by Lee Freitag on June 12th. Rick Moranis is on an acting hiatus no more. The actor is set to reprise his role as Dark Helmet, alongside fellow returning star Bill Pullman as Lone Star in Amazon MGM Studios Spaceballs 2. Bill Pullman coming back as Lone Star is great. Is great. I am over the moon about Rick Moranis coming back as Dark Helmet. This article does point out. So, for Rick Moranis in the early 90s, he had a family tragedy, and he stepped away from Hollywood and acting. And this article does point out that he has not acted in a live action movie since Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, which was a direct to video sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And that was 1997. So he hasn't he didn't even come back for the new Ghostbusters movies. And if you, I'm not judging at all Rick Moranis, the fact that Rick Moranis stepped away. Look, if something tragic happened in your life, and you want to need to step away and take care of your family and get through this, and that is completely understandable. I'm simply pointing out that it's great to see him back, because I think there are many film fans who have missed him. And it's I'm over the moon that he's coming back. Rick Moranis coming back for Spaceballs 2. That's gonna excite a lot of people. Now, the other, so Mel Brooks is going to return for, like I said, he's not going to be directing, but he will be in the movie as Yogurt. He actually turned 99. He actually turns 99 late sometime this month. I'm not sure when. But so Mel Brooks is returning as Yogurt, which is great. And I mentioned earlier this director of the Backrooms who's going to be who's 19 years old. That's got to be some kind of record. Mel Brooks being in a movie at the age of 99. That's got to be a record too. That's going to be awesome to see him back as Yogurt. So this article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. This is a different article than the previous one. This one does point out. So Spaceballs is heading back to theaters in 2027. Amazon MGM Studios has scheduled the long-awaited sequel to Mel Brooks' Star Wars spoof for a theatrical release 2 years from now. This article does go on to say, additionally, per Variety, Brooks, who turns 99 years old later this month, will reprise his role of Yogurt for the untitled sequel, which is being described as a non-prequel, non-reboot sequel, part 2, but with reboot elements franchise expansion film. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, Josh Greenbaum this article does say that Josh Greenbaum is going to direct the sequel and not Mel Brooks, which I would have preferred Mel Brooks to direct it, but Josh Greenbaum, I'm not sure what he's done. Let me see here. He hasn't directed anything that I've seen. Well, let me see here. He did direct this movie called Strays in 2023, which didn't get great reviews. So there's that. So there's not much to go on here. Would I have preferred Mel Brooks to direct it? Maybe. But Josh Greenbaum, we'll see what Josh Greenbaum. The dog is barking. The dog senses something. Josh Greenbaum directing, okay. The other thing that I'm excited about is Josh Gad, who played Olaf in the Frozen movies, and he was LeFou in the live-action Beauty and the Beast movie. Josh Gad will lead the movie, and he's also a co-writer of the movie. So that gives me hope that this will be good. Let's see if there's any other casting news. Oh yeah, so Keke Palmer is going to be in the movie. Now, I haven't seen much of Keke Palmer's work, but she was in this, I believe it came out And yeah, it came out in 2022. She was in this kind of, I guess it. If you, I'm trying to think of. It was kind of a science fiction horror movie that was kind of like this neo-western movie as well, called Nope, which was directed by Jordan Peele. And the movie's great, and she's great in it. And I am looking forward to seeing her in this movie. So Keke Palmer's going to be in this movie. So there's that. I will say this: I think that Spaceballs 2. I think that Spaceballs 2 has the potential to be better than the original. But we will see. Am I as ecstatic about most people about this? Maybe not. Am I looking forward to it? Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I am overjoyed that Rick Moranis is coming back. I'm over the moon about that. I think this has the potential to be better than the original, and I think if the original Spaceballs wasn't as overrated as I personally think it is, I'd be ecstatic about it. But there are a lot of people who are ecstatic about it, and that's great. I will. It's just one of those like wait and see. Like the director hasn't directed anything that hasn't directed much that I've heard of, and the couple movies that I have, like Strays, I heard wasn't that good. So we'll see what happens. Josh Gad writing and starring. I hope this is great. I hope it's great. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Spaceballs 2, the cast announcements. How do you feel about it? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Excuse me just a second. Okay. Next bit of news here. This is interesting. So there is going to be another adaptation, I should say, of A Christmas Carol. Now I think that the last adaptation was the animated one where Jim Carrey did the motion capture, that was directed by Robert Zemeckis. And that was fine. I mean, how many adaptations of A Christmas Carol are there? I don't know how many. I love the one with George C. Scott. I love that one so much. The one that I've seen I've seen the one with Patrick Stewart. I didn't really care for that one. And the animated one like I said was fine. However, this is what intrigues me about this one. This article is on CBR, published on June 11th. This article says, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is the next classic tale that's set to get a reimagining in Hollywood. After providing a successful new take on Nosferatu, filmmaker Robert Eggers has now been tapped as the next director to bring to life a new live-action movie based on the beloved holiday story. This article goes on to say, per Deadline, Warner Brothers is reportedly moving forward with Eggers on a new adaptation of A Christmas Carol. Eggers will write the screenplay in addition to directing the film. Now, notably, this article does point out, notably, no cast members have been officially attached to the project at this time. However, word is that Eggers is writing the script with the frequent collaborator Willem Dafoe in mind for the role of Ebenezer Scrooge. So there's that. That is not confirmed. That is not a guarantee that Willem Dafoe is going to be in this movie. That's just the word around town. Okay. If this were anybody else but Robert Eggers making this movie, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care at all. But oh my God, what Robert Eggers did with Nosferatu. Like, okay, you have to understand something. The original Nosferatu from 1922, it's a silent horror film. I watched that in film school, and I love that movie so much. I dearly love it. And so when I went into the most recent Nosferatu, the remake that Robert Eggers made with Lily Rose Depp and Nicholas Hoult, I was like, as long as it's faithful to the story, and it was, and it's great. I loved it so much. Now, so I think this could be another hit for Robert Eggers. I really do. Robert Eggers is another director that I love. In my mind, he hasn't made a bad movie. I think, given Robert Eggers' experience with horror, I think Ebenezer Scrooge being visited by the three ghosts, especially the ghost of Christmas Future, that could be really, really creepy and really horrifying. God, look, I know that there are people out there that are going to scoff at another adaptation of A Christmas Carol, and quite honestly, I wouldn't blame you. But the fact that Robert Eggers is doing this after doing The Witch, after doing The Northman, after doing Nosferatu, am I missing one? Did Rob? What else? Yeah. I this could be, again. I know people are probably going to scoff at this, but I'm this could be another hit for Robert Eggers. Oh my God, and if Willem Dafoe is in it, this could be great. This could be really, really great. And I am. Oh my God. Especially after seeing Nosferatu, I, you know, yeah, I'm actually really excited about this. I know a lot of people might not be, but I am. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Robert Eggers writing and directing a new adaptation of A Christmas Carol. So this next bit of news is regarding DC Studios, the DC universe that is being headed up by James Gunn and Peter Safran. And this is some new news regarding that universe. This article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag on June 12th. This article says DC Studios has officially announced its next adult animated series. Mr. Miracle will headline his own self-titled series from Warner Brothers Animation based on Tom King and Mitch Gerads' critically acclaimed 12-issue comic book series. This article goes on to say, King is announced as showrunner and executive producer on Mr. Miracle, which is in production but without a network at this time. King is an acclaimed and beloved member of the comic book industry, and Mr. Miracle marks the latest DC Studios project to feature his involvement. Okay. So I should point out that this article does say at this time it's unclear if Mr. Miracle will be set in the DCU or will be released under the Elseworlds branding. I'm inclined to think that it's going to be set in the DCU because it was revealed by DC Studios, but I could be wrong. Okay, first off, Tom King being the showrunner and executive producer on this series, on the Mr. Miracle series. Tom King, his run on Batman, what he did with Batman was incredible. It was incredible. It was one of those things where I think in, not necessarily my mind, but in a lot of people's opinions, before Tom King took over Batman, or did his run with Batman, I should say, maybe Batman in the comics, maybe it was getting a little, it was starting to wear thin, I think. And then Tom King came in and just completely revitalized the character, and oh my god, so the fact that he's involved in Mr. Miracle, I know he was involved in the comic book series, which is awesome. But I'm just excited because of what he did with Batman. Tom King did such an incredible job with his run with Batman. That I'm so excited that he's going to be involved in Mr. Miracle. I also love that this is going to be an adult animated series. Call me crazy, but I don't think that the comic book genre, meaning comic books or movies based off of comic books, call me crazy, but I don't think they're just for kids. This material reaches all age ranges. And I love that this is going to be an adult animated series, because I think Peacemaker benefited from being an adult series, even though that wasn't animated. I think Creature Commandos, I would say, is more for adults than kids. And I like the fact that I love that this is going to be more adult oriented. I love that. So the other thing too is that Mr. Miracle is another character. Who would have ever thought that we would be getting a Mr. Miracle animated series? Not me. So I love that. So Mr. Miracle with Tom King as showrunner and executive producer, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are on Mr. Miracle getting his own adult animated series. So, I want to make sure, I want to check something before. Okay. So, this next bit of news is interesting. So, one of my favorite, not just animation studios, but one of my favorite film studios uh, is Pixar. I'm a huge Pixar fan. You know, I was at the perfect age when I saw the original Toy Story. Um, and, I was, you and, you know, I think they've only made, I think the only Pixar movie that really isn't good is Cars 2. I mean, have I, in recent years, have there been a couple of Pixar movies that I haven't? I would say that in recent years, there are a couple Pixar movies that I've enjoyed more than others, but I don't think they're bad. Like Luca. Uh, Luca was very good. Um, what was it's not really recent, but Brave. It was pretty good. You know, I need to watch it again. Um, Coco I loved. Turning Red I loved. Onward I Onward surprised me. Um, I was thinking it was going to be kind of this cliche story, and it wasn't. So, Pixar is one of my favorite studios, and a new Pixar movie has been announced. This article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag on June 13th. This article says, a new Pixar movie has just been unveiled during the Animation Studios preview showcase at France's Annecy Animation Festival. Titled Gatto, the upcoming animated feature will take audiences back to Italy, the setting of the studio's 2021 film, Luca. Now, for those who don't know, Gatto, which is the title of the movie, Gatto is the Italian word for cat. So just thought I'd throw that out there. This article goes on to say that Luca director Enrico Casarosa, whose birth country is Italy, is behind Gatto, which will take place in Venice and follow a black cat named Nero. Indebted to a feline mob boss, Nero finds himself forced to forge an unexpected friendship that may finally lead him to his purpose. And there's a picture here, and it looks cool, you know. So Gatto, okay. So it sounds like, indebted to a feline mob boss, Nero finds himself forced to forge an unexpected friendship that may finally lead him to his purpose. That says to me that this will be a animal centric movie. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all. That's just what I'm picking up from that, and I think I think that's cool, and it's taking place in Italy, which was the setting of Luca, which I really enjoyed. And excuse me, just a second. Yeah, Luca was great. Um, Luca was wonderful. Um, so yeah, I kind of like this idea that it's going to be an animal centric story. Um, I think one of the things that has bothered me about a couple Pixar movies, like Soul. I think lately a couple Pixar has done a couple movies where the humans switch bodies with the animals. Like they did that in Brave, and then they did it again with Soul, and I'm just like stop doing that. Oh, what's the other? Elemental was really good. I really enjoyed Elemental, but yeah, I was like, stop doing that. Stop switching bodies. Stop body swapping. You know, but this sounds more like it'll be animal centric, which that sounds cool. A feline mob boss. That's gonna be great. So yeah, Gatto, set in the world of set in the same set in Italy now. Um, I'm wondering if it'll be related to Luca in any way. That's gonna be interesting. But yeah, new Pixar movie. I'm always excited for that, and this sounds wonderful. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. So this next bit of news um, has to do with an upcoming film. Obviously, I don't know why I even said that. I get flustered sometimes on camera. So this article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Saig, and this was published a week ago. So this article says two esteemed members of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Vanessa Kirby and Sebastian Stan, will join forces for a new kind of drama when Miramax brings an adaptation of Amy Taylor's upcoming second novel, Ruins, to theaters. This article goes on to say, here's the official description for Amy Taylor's Ruins, courtesy of Penguin Random House. At a crossroads in their lives, a couple arrives in Greece to house sit for a friend. Emma is searching for a meaningful next step beyond work or starting a family, and Julian is struggling to come to terms with the failure of his academic career. Their visions for the future seem to be pulling them in different directions, and they hope that this summer away will help them mend their frayed connection. Let's see. Emma and Julian's plans take an unexpected turn when they meet Lena, an enigmatic young Greek woman who presents an opportunity for them to explore their relationship in uncharted and excitingly risky ways. Ooh. However, as the heat in the city grows stifling, Emma and Julian find themselves far more entangled in Lena's life than they'd bargained for. Engaged in a three-way struggle for control, Emma, Julian, and Lena are suddenly faced with consequences far greater and far more explosive than they could have predicted. Voyeuristic and thrilling, Ruins delivers the drama of a modern Greek tragedy while exposing the tensions between privilege and power, desire and intimacy. Ooh, this sounds like it's going to be a little bit steamy, a little, but no, I mean this sounds. In all seriousness, this sounds like the movie's going to go in a lot of different directions, and it's going to be a little unpredictable for audiences, and I love that. Um, so I'm not familiar with the book. So Amy Ruins by Amy Taylor. I'm not familiar with the book. But I will say, I really like Vanessa Kirby in the stuff that I've seen her in. I think she's a very good actress. Sebastian Stan is one of my favorites. He has shown incredible range, and he was so good in Thunderbolts, um, which was the most recent. And I think people need to see more of him outside of the Marvel movies. And Vanessa Kirby's been in Mission Impossible, and she was in The Crown, obviously, and she was wasn't she in Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix? Wasn't she in that? But this sounds great to me. It's this idea of friends becoming potentially more than that to save their relationship, and then faced with consequences that could lead in all sorts of different directions. That sounds awesome to me. I hope it's good. It sounds really intriguing. It sounds, it sounds like it's going to really pull audiences in. I hope it's good. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are about this. Excuse me just a second. Excuse me. I love when they come out of nowhere like that. Okay, so this next bit of news has to do with an upcoming horror film. So this horror film is based on, there was a novel by Josh Malerman called Incidents Around the House. This horror movie will be based on that book. And we have a bit of casting news regarding it. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Cody Haman about a week ago. This article says that Dichen Lachman, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, she was on she was in Jurassic World Dominion and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and she was on the Apple series Severance. So Dichen Lachman has joined. This article says, now it has been announced that Lachman has joined Jessica Chastain and Jay Duplass in the supernatural horror film that the Boogeyman director Rob Savage is making for Atomic Monster and Blumhouse. Those are both film studios. Although this project is based on Bird Box author Josh Malerman's novel Incidents Around the House, it doesn't currently have an official title. In fact, it's being referred to as the untitled Rob Savage supernatural horror film. So details on the character Lachman will be playing in the film have not yet been revealed. The story revolves around a haunting told from the perspective of a young girl whose troubled family is targeted by an entity she calls Other Mommy. Here's the full description of Malerman's novel. To 8-year-old Bella, her family is her world. There's Mommy, Gatto, and Grandma Ruth. But there is also Other Mommy, a malevolent entity who asks her every day, "Can I go inside your heart?" When horrifying incidents around the house signal that Other Mommy is growing tired of asking Bella the question over and over, Bella understands that unless she says yes, her family will soon pay. Other mommy is getting restless, stronger, bolder. Only the bonds of family can keep Bella safe, but other incidents show cracks in her parents' marriage. The safety Bella relies on is about to unravel, but other mommy needs an answer. So I actually talked about this movie. There was news regarding this movie of a number of weeks ago, and so this has to do with the casting news, obviously, regarding this movie. We haven't had casting news. There hasn't been any casting news until now. So I'm not familiar with Dichen Lachman. And I'm not too familiar with Jay Duplass. But Jessica Chastain is one of my favorite actresses. I think she's wonderful. And I actually, if I remember right, I think when this project was first announced, that Jessica Chastain was involved in the movie. But now we have more casting news. So anyway, I love this genre, the supernatural horror, this haunting, by an entity. I love that so much, and can I go inside your heart? It's like, ooh, I love that. Like, I eat that shit up, man. It's just, oh, I'm going to see, and and Jessica Chastain has done horror before. She was in the movie Mama, which was great. I think that was, that was. Oh, I was thinking of another one. Mama, she was in Mama, but I was thinking of another movie. Mama's pretty good. I was confusing another movie. Mama's pretty good, and it was directed by Andy Muschietti, who directed the most recent It and It Chapter 2 and The Flash. I think Mama might be his weakest movie, maybe. I loved what he did with It. I loved that. But Mama's pretty good. But I love that Jessica Chastain is returning to horror. I love that. This sounds so up my alley, though. The entity needs an answer, and what's going to happen if the entity doesn't get an answer? It's other Mama. I love that so much. So not much to offer about the casting news. I'm not too familiar with Dichen Lachman. But I am excited for this movie. So I'm sorry I can't offer more. So jump in the comment section and let me know your guys' thoughts about this. So this next bit of news has to do with an upcoming comic book adaptation that, and again, I've said this before, I love my Marvel and DC stuff, but I also love when more lesser known, more independent comic books get a film adaptation. So this article is on Deadline, published by Melanie Goodfellow on June 13th. This article says, Irish actor Jack Hudson has signed for the cast of feature adaptation of Matthew Dickens' comic The Devil's Train, about Hollywood stuntman Hondo, who has a double life as a time-traveling cowboy. Let's see. The feature will be directed by stuntman and Fast and Furious action director Jack Gill and is adapted from an original story by Dickens based on his unpublished novel, which he turned into a comic book series released by LA-based publisher Bliss on Tap. Hudson will play time-traveling, demon-possessed baddie cyborg Blondie, with his name a nod to one of the nicknames of Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name character in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy. This article goes on to say the movie follows time-traveling cowboy Hondo as he attempts to rob the treasure-laden Devil's Train, encountering multiple time periods and traps as he moves from car to car, looking for clues on how to break into the treasure vault. Come on. That sounds awesome. That sounds so good. So he will... let's see. So yeah, Jack Hudson will not be playing... He'll be playing the bad guy. So unfortunately, I don't have much to offer about Jack Hudson because I'm not familiar with him. However, what I can offer is my opinion on the premise of this movie, and this premise sounds awesome. The Devil's Train encountering multiple time periods and traps as he moves from car to car, looking for clues on how to break into the treasure vault. Fucking awesome. That sounds awesome. Look, I hope it's good. You know, I like when these lesser known comic books get feature film adaptations. I really love that, and it might bring those when feature film adaptations of these comics get made. It's possible that the comics will gain more prominence, so that's always good. This premise sounds so good. I hope it's done well. I hope it's good, and I want it to succeed because this sounds ridiculous. So I don't, Jack Gill, who Fast and Furious action director, I mean, there's experience there, so that's awesome. So I hope it's good. I hope it helps gain elevate the careers of everyone involved. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are on that. So, these next couple pieces of news are about the upcoming Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping film adaptation, which, to be honest with you, if you look up the cast of this movie and the cast announcements that I'm going to read off this week, this is going to be at the very least, the best cast in a Hunger Games movie, in my opinion. Okay, so this first bit of news here. This article is on Joe Blow, published by E.J. Tangonen, published 6 days ago. This article says, the production of the Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping is building an even bigger all-star cast. Lionsgate is now announcing that Glenn Close has been cast as Drusilla Sickle, the cruel escort to the District 12 tributes, and 3-time Tony Award winner Billy Porter has been cast as Magno Stift, her estranged husband and the tribute's uninspired designer. Okay. This is great. This is great. Billy Porter. I like Billy Porter quite a bit. I'm looking forward to seeing him in this movie. Glenn Close is another one of my favorite actresses in the category of best actresses who, for some reason, have never won an Oscar. Glenn Close is at the top of the list. She's incredible, and she doesn't need me to tell her that, and I don't think anybody would disagree with me. God, she's been in so much. There was a movie that she was in called. God, I hate when my I hate when my brain doesn't brain properly. She was in this movie called Reversal of Fortune with Jeremy Irons. It came out in 1990, and she's wonderful. She's wonderful. She was also in. Well, she's been in so much. I mean, it sounds weird to mention, but her as Cruella de Vil in the live action 101 Dalmatians. It's so good. She's so great. I am ecstatic about this. So again, I haven't read the book, so I'm not too familiar with the character. But I'm ecstatic that she's going to be in this movie. Now, there's some more casting news regarding this. This article is on Deadline, published by Rosie Cordero. This article says Jaleel Swabi from The Lake has been cast in Lionsgate's The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping as Panache, a crude and aggressive career tribute from District 1, known for his arrogance and ruthlessness, sources confirmed to Deadline. Okay, so yeah. So Jaleel Swabi from The Lake. I'm not familiar with The Lake. I'm not familiar with him, but again, he's obviously a very prominent young and upcoming actor, and being involved in a movie like this, if it's good, will elevate his career. But yeah, this cast is shaping up so wonderfully. Oh my God, I'm excited to see this movie. I'm excited to see this movie just simply for the cast alone. Like, even if I hear it's not very good, even if it's not very good, I might just be like, screw it. I'll see it simply because of the cast. But yeah, so jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Glenn Close, Billy Porter, and Jaleel Swabi being cast in the new Hunger Games book to film adaptation. So this next bit of news is regarding a video game to film adaptation, which, as I say all the time, is, I'm sure, will excite many people. So anyway, there is going to be... So this article is on Deadline, published by Melanie Goodfellow. When was it published? June 18th. There is going to be an animated feature adaptation of the video game Death Stranding. That was created, Hideo Kojima. It was created, Death Stranding was created by him. So this article says, Aaron Guzikowski has signed to write the screenplay for an adult-targeted animated feature inspired by Hideo Kojima's hit action adventure video game Death Stranding. Let's see. This article goes on to say, so the signing was announced by Japanese games maestro Hideo Kojima's Tokyo and LA-based Kojima Productions and LA-based animation company Line Mileage. The partners say the movie, which is currently in development, will be in a similar vein to adult-targeted animated genre films such as the recently announced John Wick animated prequel and sci-fi horror Predator Killer of Killers, which released on this month on Hulu and Disney Plus. Okay, so Aaron Guzikowski, he has credits with Raised by Wolves. He was involved. He was involved with that, and he also, I believe he was. Let me see here. So Aaron Guzikowski wrote Raised by Wolves, and he wrote the. There was a movie that was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who I love, director of Dune and Blade Runner 2049. But before Denis Villeneuve directed those movies, he directed this movie called Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. And so Denis Villeneuve directed that, but Aaron Guzikowski wrote that movie. And that movie is both written, directed, acted, 5 stars all the way around. Prisoners is great, and if you haven't seen that movie, I highly recommend it. So, this article does point out that this movie will feature an original story unfolding in the universe of Death Stranding, set in the wake of a series of cataclysmic explosions around the world, which result in the dead and living becoming connected. So this is not going to be a animated movie version of the video game. So that's cool, you know. So, you know, I have to say it again. You know, I even though I'm not too keen about, even though as I say all the time, there have been recent exceptions, but most video game to film adaptations suck. However, I like that this is going to be adult oriented, and you know, Hideo Kojima was it will always have a special place in my heart because of Metal Gear Solid. You know, Metal Gear Solid is Metal Gear Solid is he made that he's the creator of the Metal Gear franchise, the video games, and Metal Gear Solid. He created that game, and I love that video game so much. So Hideo Kojima will always have a special place in my heart. But Death Stranding, you know, the premise sounds really cool. I like that it's going to be animated. I like that it's going to be adult-oriented animated. You know, and maybe this will, hopefully this will do well with a writer with with a writer like Aaron Guzikowski, I have a feeling it'll be good. But here's hoping, you know. So yeah, I don't have much more to offer. So we'll see what happens. Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. So this next bit of news, there's the new there's an upcoming political thriller movie coming. Let me pause this for just a second because there's something that I'm going to talk about later in the show, and I want to pull it up here. Sorry about this. Okay, so going back to this. So this article is on MovieWeb, published by Marcos Melendez. This was published 6 days ago. This article says Deadline reports that Jake Gyllenhaal is in talks to lead and produce Code Black, an upcoming political thriller excuse me, based on a short story by Harrison Query, who is also writing the screenplay. Amazon MGM Studios has acquired the upcoming project, which currently does not have a theatrical or streaming release date. Hopefully not streaming and theatrical. A director is not attached to the project yet, but it is said that Amazon paid a pretty penny for the film rights. Let's see. An amount that Deadline says is believed to be one of the biggest of all time for a short story. There is a plot description in this article. In Code Black, the country's top heart surgeon is flown to D.C. to perform a high-stakes operation, finding himself led into a trap where his guile and genius become the only way to stop a plot that threatens both his family and the nation. Well, that escalated quickly. Okay, so this sounds like something that is going to take a drastic turn in terms of story. Like, you think it's going to go one way and then it doesn't. Jake Gyllenhaal is phenomenal. He's one of my favorite actors. And he's coming off a Golden Globe nomination for Presumed Innocent, which was great. He is someone that I don't understand. He will have an Oscar one day. I hope. I hope. I don't understand why he doesn't have one yet. But, it is what it is. He's one of my favorites. And this, playing a heart surgeon led into a trap, this sounds very, again, like, I love movies that lead you one way and then, it takes a twist and goes in a different direction. I love movies like that. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal can play that extremely well. So I'm looking forward to this movie. I'm really looking forward to this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this. Well, this next bit of news is a little bit difficult to talk about. And again, I don't like talking about this kind of stuff except when it affects the movies that we go see. And unfortunately, there is a bit of news this week that could affect a certain actor and filmmaker. There have been numerous articles uh, over the past, I would say, week or so, um, that actor and filmmaker Tyler Perry has been sued amid accusations of sexual harassment, assault, and infliction of emotional distress and retaliation. Um, now, um, Tyler Perry obviously intends to fight these claims and has offered his response. You know, it's interesting because I think here's what I'll say about this. Well, first of all, I just for the record, I completely understand that there are two sides to every story, you know, but I also believe that every allegation and every accusation needs to be taken seriously. Um, and nobody knows what happened except the people that were there. But I can do, all we can do, is form an opinion based on the current information that we have, and our opinions will change based on new information. So I just want to say this. Tyler Perry is not one. I haven't seen hardly any films that he's done. I've seen one of the Medea movies. I think it was the Christmas one, actually. Um, and he briefly, very briefly, it was almost a glorified cameo. Um, he very briefly appeared in the 2009 Star Trek movie. The reason, you know, I just want to say for the record, I am more a fan of what he's accomplished in his career than the actual material that he's done. Um, he's got his own film studios. He's got his own film studio. Um, I think is it in Atlanta? Um, let me double check that. Um, yeah, it's in Atlanta. Um, and it's not. Yeah. It was founded in 2006, so yeah. So it's pretty it's something. Um, yeah. So again, I'm more a fan. I have an enormous amount of respect for what he's accomplished in his career. I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a fan of him or the material that he's been in. I mean, he what didn't he do this? There was that movie that he did where he played Alex Cross that looked good, but I guess it really wasn't. He's done a lot of. He's been in a lot. He's done a lot of stuff. I just it was just one of those things that I wanted to talk about because I know a lot of people like Tyler Perry. Um, he's got his legions of fans. Um, and again, we'll see what happens with this. Um, you know, Tyler Perry obviously intends to fight this. I mean, this is a $260 million lawsuit. So, but all I can do is offer my opinion about this, and my opinion is that I look at Tyler Perry very differently now. If new information comes to light, then my opinion might change. But as of right now, it's but I just wanted to talk about this very briefly, because I personally consider Tyler Perry to be a very prominent figure in the industry. So yeah, so I don't have much else to say. So let's move on here to something much more pleasant and something that really excites me. So, for those who don't know, there was James Gunn. This is DCU news. That's the DC universe that James Gunn and Peter Safran created. And James Gunn made this announcement, and this was, when was it announced? In 2023. I want to make sure I get this right. So I think in either 2023 or 2024, I think it was 2023, James Gunn announced the first chapter in the DCU universe, in their film franchise. And it was called Gods and Monsters. And there were certain projects that were confirmed and announced that these are the films and the characters and the TV shows that we're going to be doing. And however, there have been a couple projects that were not announced at first, but have since become part of that first chapter of the DCU. And I talked about one of them last week, and the other one is a Clayface movie. So, and James Gunn has talked about this. So, a Clayface movie was not part of the initial announcement of the phase, the first phase of the DCU, if you will. Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Clayface, the movie, was not initially part of that. However, Mike Flanagan met with Mike Flanagan, who directed Dr. Sleep, and he directed Life of Chuck most recently. He met with Mike Flanagan met with James Gunn and Peter Safran about doing a Clayface movie, and so Mike Flanagan will be the co-writer of this movie, and Mike Flanagan and Hossein Amini, They turned in the script, and James Gunn said it was so good that he couldn't. I believe that's what he said, is that James Gunn was like, you know what, it's so good that let's just do it. And it's going to be, so it was co-written by Mike Flanagan. It's going to be directed by James Watkins, who did The Woman in Black, and he also directed the American remake of Speak No Evil, which was great. So James Watkins is going to direct, and Mike Flanagan is the co-writer of. They're doing a frigging Clayface movie now. I love Clayface as a character. He is. I would say that I would say that Clayface is a fan favorite Batman villain. In my opinion, he's a fan favorite. I love Clayface as a character. However, it's interesting because across, I think the best way to say it is that there have been numerous Clayface origin stories across comic books and TV shows and video games and whatnot. Now, I personally, my the origin story that I am most familiar with is interesting because it combines origin stories. So the Clayface character that I'm familiar with is Matt Hagen. Matt Hagen became Clayface. I think he was the second Clayface. And Matt Hagen's Clayface was the first to demonstrate shape-shifting powers. And so what's interesting is that the origin story that I'm familiar with Clayface is the one from Batman the Animated Series. And that origin story is friggin' gross. It's one of those, like, I don't have much of a gag reflex, right? And I would argue that Batman the Animated Series is not a cartoon because cartoons are for kids. Batman the Animated Series is an animated show for older children and adults. And the Clayface origin story in that Batman animated series is definitely for adults. It's gross and it's dark and it's like, I saw that. I think the episode, there was a 2-episode arc. I think it was called Feet of Clay. And even as, like, I watched look, I'm 40 years old and I remember watching that as a kid going like, oh God, like I really should not be watching this. This is gross. And even now, like, I watch it, I'm like that's just nope. But it's one of those, like, it's gross, but it's awesome. Like, I love that shit. But what's interesting is that the Matt Hagen character who would become Clayface in the animated series had kind of a mixed origin because so the character of Matt Hagen in the animated series, his backstory in the animated series was very similar to Basil Karlo, who was the original Clayface. So Basil Carlo was a has-been actor, and he takes the name Clayface to exact revenge when Hollywood expresses interest in remaking one of his classic films. And Basil Carlo formed this mud pack, and it's yeah. So they, in the animated series, they combined that origin story with Matt Hagen to kind of they blended both together. So in the animated series, Matt Hagen is an aging actor who uses anti-aging cream to keep his youthful good looks so that he can keep getting starring roles. And but then he gets on the the anti-aging the manufacturer behind the anti-aging cream, Roland Daggett. They literally, like, Matt Hagen gets on the wrong, like, he pisses Roland Daggett off. He gets on the wrong side of Roland Daggett, and I will. This is one of those images that I will never forget. Roland Daggett and his henchmen, I should say, they literally pour a vat of the anti-aging cream down his throat. And in the shot in the animated series, you see the shadows, which is arguably more horrifying. You see the shadows of the henchmen holding Matt Hagen down, and the vat and the clays, and his mouth is open, and the sound of the clay going into his mouth and down his throat, and he's like, oh, and it's so gross. It's so gross, but it's so awesome. Even though that version is kind of a mesh of multiple Clayface alter egos, I think it's one of the best written versions of the character. There's been other Clayface characters who have become Clayface. There was Preston Payne and Sandra Fuller, Lady Clay, and then there was Cassius Payne, who was the child of Sandra Fuller and Preston Payne, and then there was Peter Malley, who was the Clayface Gorgon. And then there was Todd Russell, which was that was that was dark too. That was so, and then there was Johnny Williams, And by the way, the animation in the Batman animated series Clayface episodes, the animation done when he shapeshifts is fucking badass. It's so cool. So, there's I gave you all of that information because there's going to be a Clayface movie. And Mike Flanagan is attached to, or Mike Flanagan co-wrote the script. and Hossein Amini came on board for rewrites, and so it's unclear. Uh, what I'm saying is it's unclear how much of Mike Flanagan's original script will be there, and James Watkins is directing. And I think a Clayface movie could be an awesome horror movie. It really, really could. And there has been some casting regarding the Clayface movie. This article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag, and this was published 5 days ago. Per Deadline, Tom Rhys Harries has been cast as Clayface. His previous film credits include. This article does go on to say his previous film credits include Guy Ritchie's 2019 crime comedy The Gentleman, the Gerard Butler-led action thriller Kandahar, and the Ralph Fiennes-led drama The Return. He was also on the Apple TV Plus Suspicion, and I think he had a guest lead role in a Doctor Who episode or something. So, it's unclear. So this article does point out, I said a little bit earlier, this article does point out, Clayface was not originally part of DC Studios' opening DCU slate of films and television series. However, after Mike Flanagan wowed James Gunn with his script for the character, the movie was quickly added to DCU's Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. So this article does go on to say the upcoming movie will fall under the body horror genre. Yes, that's so awesome. Telling the story of a B-movie actor who uses a substance to remain relevant but becomes made entirely of clay. It's awesome. So, my guess is it's going to be Basil Karlo. Either that or they're going to do what they did in the animated series and combine Basil Karlo with Matt Hagen. I'd kind of prefer if they did Basil Karlo, to be honest with you. But body horror, I mean, come on, that's awesome. And with today's visual effects, the transformation sequences, the shape-shifting sequences could be bonkers. And I highly encourage you, if you want to know anything, I would encourage you to watch the Batman animated series episodes, Feet of Clay, like the Clayface origin episodes. Those episodes are awesome, and it will give you guys a clue as to what kind of character Clayface is and what he's capable of. And by the way, we've already seen Clayface for a minute in the Creature Commandos TV series. Clayface is one of my favorite Batman villains. And I like that it wasn't in the initial plans, but Mike Flanagan brought them the script, and it was just like, well, shit, this is good. Let's do it. I love that. So yeah, a Clayface movie is coming, and they've got. I'm not familiar with the actor, Tom Rhys Harries. I'm not familiar with him, but I like that like in my mind, he's an unknown, and I like that. Um, you know, so God, this is gonna. I think this could be great. I think this could be great, and I love that they're going to lean into the horror. I really want to see a live action. I know it sounds sick, and I know that there might be something wrong with me, but I really want to see a live action version of them just pouring the clay down the throat of the. Oh my God! You know the you know I. Oh my God! Oh my God! I actually okay. The last video games that I played were the Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. And there's a moment in Arkham City where it's revealed that uh, where Clayface is revealed. And I will never forget this. I paused the game because I was so ecstatic that I, as Batman, playing as Batman, was gonna battle Clayface. Like that's, I was like, holy shit, holy shit. So anyway, so Clayface, I can't. I'm ecstatic for this. Jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are about this. So, this next bit of news intrigues me. Um, so, this article is on CBR, published by Jody Brown. And this was published 5 days ago. And this has to do with an upcoming movie that Glenn Powell is going to be in. This article says Top Gun Maverick star Glenn Powell will swap a plane for a fire truck for his next major movie role. The in-demand actor has been cast in Ron Howard's upcoming firefighter movie, which is currently in development at Amazon MGM Studios. This article goes on to say, per Deadline, Powell has been cast in the still untitled firefighter film, which he will co-produce alongside director Howard. Christina Hodson, who is known for penning Bumblebee, Birds of Prey, and The Flash, is writing the screenplay and on board as an executive producer. The planned movie follows former childhood friends who have become elite firefighters but also drifted apart. However, when a wave of deadly fires engulfs Texas, the ex-friends must put their issues aside to protect citizens. Specific details about Powell's character were not released. Okay, so, first of all, Glenn Powell is one of today's hottest rising stars. And he seems to be someone who, you know, he seems to be everywhere these days because he's so talented. So I'm excited to see him in this movie. Ron Howard directing. Ron Howard will always have a special place in my heart because he directed Apollo 13, which is one of my favorite movies ever. And I've mentioned this before, but my grandfather and I went to go see Apollo 13, and it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And Apollo 13 is one of my favorite movies to this day. And I think it's one of Ron Howard's best movies. Now, I haven't seen them all, but I just love that movie so much. Now, and if you, I don't want to Google his entire filmography right now, but Ron Howard's filmography as a director is pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, and more recently he did the Solo, a Star Wars story, which I actually liked. Now, Uh, it's interesting that Ron Howard is directing this firefighter movie because in 1991 he directed Backdraft. Um, and Backdraft, uh, Kurt Russell was in it, and that movie got 3 Oscar nominations. And Backdraft is so good. Backdraft is so good. And Ron Howard directed Rush as well, the racing movie with Chris Hemsworth. And who else was in that? Who else was in Rush? Oh yeah, Daniel Bruhl and Olivia Wilde, and that movie's great. That movie's great. So Ron Howard as a director, his filmography is pretty good. I love. I'm excited for this because of simply because of the experience that Ron Howard has. Uh, like I said, Apollo 13. He has experience specifically with dealing with this type of a movie, like it's a firefighter movie. Maybe it will be a pseudo sequel to Backdraft. Who knows? But Backdraft is so good. And I will say that I love that Ron Howard is a filmmaker who, despite his age, doesn't seem to be slowing down at all, and I love that. And so yeah. This sounds wonderful to me. Friends setting aside their personal differences to save people. That's obviously going to tug at the heartstrings a little bit. But I just can't. I personally can't praise Ron Howard enough as a filmmaker. You know, him doing another movie like this, in terms of firefighter movies. I mean, I'm so excited for this. So we'll see what kind of character, who the character details about Glenn Powell are. I like Glenn Powell. I wouldn't say that he's someone that I see everything that he's in, but a lot of people do. And again, he's I think he could be the next. He seems to have a movie star quality about him, and I like that because I think the I think the age of the movie star is has all but died out. So I like that. Glenn Powell gives me hope for this future of movie stars. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, this sounds so good. I just can't wait for this. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. Okay, so moving on. So, for those who don't know, there has been talk of a 6th Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And when I say talk, I mean there has been talk of whether it would be another sequel. It's kind of been rumored. There's been conflicting reports. There have been conflicting reports of whether or not it would be another sequel, whether or not they would reinvent the franchise and start from and do that. But whatever the case, it would be the sixth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Now, look, I think I I have kind of a funny story to tell about the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So uh, I don't know if my mother will remember this, but when I was in uh, when I was younger, I went to uh, choir camp, and one and that particular summer, when my mom picked me up, we went out to lunch afterwards, like we always did, and she was telling me that she and her friend, I think it was I don't know who it was, but she was telling me that she and her friend went to go see the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and I initially had no interest in it because like it was like maybe um, uh, in my lack of knowledge, I was confused by Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie, that is. I wasn't sure whether it was going to be, like, I thought it was going to be animation, and then I saw the poster that had real actors on it, and I was like, what is this? So I was kind of confused by it. And Pirates of the Caribbean, a movie based off a theme park ride, like, what is this? But and again, my mother probably doesn't remember any of this, but she had told me that she and her friend went to go see Pirates of the Caribbean, and I expressed to my mom my skepticism about the movie. Like, I don't get it. Like, what? And she told me, she's like, Nate, you have to see it. Oh my God, you'd love it. Oh my God. So, and I had been a fan of Johnny Depp before, but I went to go see. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. When's the last time I saw a good pirate movie? So I went to go see it, and I loved it. Oh my God, I you know, and I had seen Johnny Depp before and a couple other things, but the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie was the movie that really, like, I uh, became uh, damn near obsessed with Johnny Depp as an actor, and I I know this is going to I know I might get hate for this. I like all of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I think the first three are, um, well, I think the first three are great. I think the first three are great. The fourth one, which I think was on Stranger Tides, that's the one where they go out of where they go after they find the Fountain of Youth. That one's, I think after the third one they got lesser in quality. Um, I mean, I still like them, um, but I think the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies, those are the those are the higher quality ones, especially the first one. The first one's great. The first one's great. The second one with the Kraken and the beating heart and the 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 fight on the windmill wheel, and I mean, it's great. And then in the third one, they have the fight in the maelstrom, and the three the ships are, it's awesome. And so the fourth one I liked, but I liked it less than the original three. And then the last one, which was Dead Man Tell No Tales, that one I liked even less than the fourth one, but I still liked it. I think for me, it was always fun watching Johnny Depp play the character of Captain Jack Sparrow. I'll never get tired of him playing that, of watching him play that character. Um, um, and I know and I understand that a lot of people don't like any of the sequels, and that's fine. But I think the first three movies work really well as a trilogy. Um, and I know that none of the sequels are nearly as critically acclaimed as the original, and that's it's fine. Um, I mean, but this is $1 billion franchise, so naturally, they the studio wants to continue to make more. And like I said, there have been conflicting reports about a sixth Pirates of the Caribbean, about whether or not it would be a sequel or whether it would not be a reinvention or a standalone thing. Or well, there's been some news regarding that. This article was published on CBR 5 days ago. This article says that producer Jerry Bruckheimer has weighed in to confirm that there will indeed be some original stars coming back for the planned Pirates of the Caribbean the sixth movie. Jerry Bruckheimer, who is the most successful film producer in the history of Hollywood. This article says, progress continues to be made on the planned sixth installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie series. The biggest question that fans still have about the film is if it will be a complete reboot or if there will be any original stars from the previous movies returning. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer has weighed in to confirm that there will indeed be some original stars coming back. The article continues. Per Screen Rant, Bruckheimer was directly asked if Pirates of the Caribbean 6 will be a continuation of the previous films or something new entirely. While the producer said that the film will bring a new take to the franchise, that doesn't mean it won't be sharing its universe with its 5 predecessors. Bruckheimer said that, quote, some, unquote, Pirates of the Caribbean stars will return, but he's not offering any other hints about which ones those might be, leaving it up to the fans to speculate until an official announcement is made. We're working on a screenplay, Bruckheimer said. Hopefully we'll get it right, and then we'll make it. We really want to make it, that's for sure. It'll be a new take on it. When asked if there would be new actors, he continued, well, not all new actors. We'll have some back. I'm not going to tell you which ones. You'll have to guess. Okay. So, here's what I think about this and what I have to say about this. I think that, how do I want to say this? Well, I know that it has been reported that Orlando Bloom has expressed interest in coming back as Will Turner. And I would love to see that. I don't think that Johnny Depp is going to be one of them. I don't think Johnny Depp is coming back as Captain Jack Sparrow. Because during his trial with Amber Heard, he testified in court that he would not return. He would not do another Pirates of the Caribbean movie. He said that on the witness stand. So, unless something drastic happens, unless he and the higher-ups at Disney come to terms or make a peaceful they bury the hatchet, so to speak, I don't see Johnny Depp coming back. And I don't. I'm kind of indifferent about that, to be honest. As great as it would be to see him come back, testifying in court that you would never do another one, and then doing another one. Well, so which is it? I am prepared. I personally am prepared to see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Captain Jack Sparrow. It would be different, that's for sure. But it is what it is. I know that Orlando Bloom has expressed interest. We'll see who else, but I don't think Johnny Depp is going to be one of them. Now, I have, in terms of, I hope that audiences would be interested in a sixth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. A couple of them have made $1 billion. The last one, despite its quality, came pretty close, I think, to making $1 billion. However, maybe the franchise is burned out. Maybe the light's gone out. I don't know. All due respect to the cast members, to all the other cast members, I think it could be good without Johnny Depp, and it would have to be for me personally to see it. And because here's the thing, and again, I say this very respectfully. That the Pirates of the Caribbean films are as successful as they are because of what Johnny Depp, because of his performance as Captain Jack Sparrow. You might not want to admit it, but that's the truth. He's the face of that franchise, and he actually, maybe you don't know this, but Johnny Depp actually got an Oscar nomination for his performance for the first movie. And I just, it would have to be really good. A Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow would have to be really, really good for me personally to see it. And I say that respectfully, with all due respect to everybody else involved. But again, maybe that light has burned out. Who's to say? I think if a sixth one is made, I think the box office results will say whether or not audiences are interested in it. And that would be, like, I'm saying that even if Johnny Depp is involved. I think the box office results, because box office results don't reflect the quality of a movie. They reflect what people want to go see. And in my opinion, even if Johnny Depp was involved, the box office results for a sixth Pirates of the Caribbean movie would tell the studio and tell the filmmakers whether or not they're interested in it. So those are my thoughts. I would like to see. I know that Keira Knightley has recently expressed mixed emotions about being in those films. I would like to see Orlando Bloom come back. I think he was very good in the films that he was in. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the sixth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. So, what's next? Okay, so next up, there is casting news for the film adaptation of Dune Messiah, which I am beyond ecstatic for. So, now, this casting news does contain spoiler alerts for people who have not read Dune Messiah. Which, if you haven't read Dune Messiah, stop what you're doing, go read Dune Messiah, and then come back. I know this may sound sacrilegious to say, but I actually enjoyed Dune Messiah more than the original novel, and that's saying a lot. But anyway, this article is on CBR, published by Manuel de Maguio 5 days ago. Dune 3 has cast newcomers to play Leto Atreides II and Ghanima, Paul Atreides and Chani's twin children. I'm not going to say... I'm going to say very little else because that would spoil the plot of Dune Messiah. However, I will say who has been cast. So this article does say, per deadline, Nakoa Wolf Momoa and Ida Brooke will be playing Leto Atreides II and Ghanima in Dune 3 or Dune Messiah. Now, what's interesting about this is that Nakoa Wolf Momoa is Jason Momoa's son. And Jason Momoa played Duncan Idaho in Dune Parts 1 and 2. So that's kind of funny. that Jason Momoa's son is playing the son of Paul Atreides. The real life son is playing the fictional son of Paul Atreides and Chani. So this is interesting to me personally because this may have just confirmed what happens to Chani in what will happen to Chani in the movie. Now I know that people are they adapted Chani a different way for the movie. They adapted it in a way that I personally loved. But I know that a lot of people didn't love it, and that's perfectly fine. I'm simply saying they adapted the character of Chani for the movie in a way that I loved. Having the twin children of Paul Atreides and Chani in Dune Messiah may or may not have just confirmed what they will be doing with Chani in the film adaptation of Dune Messiah, because for those who have read Dune Messiah, you know what happens to Chani in Dune Messiah. And for those who don't know, Leto Atreides II and Ghanima become very important in the story of Dune. So I don't want to. I'm not going to say too much about this because that would reveal spoilers for those who haven't read the book. And if you haven't read the book, why not? What are you doing with your life? But this is. I think this is great. I think this is potentially, given that this news may or may not have confirmed what they're going to do with Chani in the movie, this is also heartbreaking news. Yeah, the Children of God. I'm so excited for this movie. I cannot even. I have my very best friend, Mike Shreve. And this is, again, just my personal opinion. If you have a different opinion, that's fine. My very good friend Mike Shreve, after I saw Dune Part 1, he knew that I had read the book. And he asked me if I thought it was a faithful adaptation. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And after, even though I haven't seen Dune Messiah yet, I think that Dune Part 1 and Part 2 put together, well, first of all, it's easily the best adaptation of the novel. I also think, in terms of book to film adaptations, Dune Parts 1 and 2 put together is right up there with Lord of the Rings. And that's what I told him. And I know that people feel differently, and that's fine, but I'm sorry. There's no one. If you read Dune, it's one of those books, much like Lord of the Rings. You're like, this is impossible to adapt, and yet they did it. And Denis Villeneuve did it, and the writers did it, and it's so yeah. Those are my thoughts. I'm ecstatic for this. The children being in this, oh my god, this is gonna be This is gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So, so yeah, so yeah. Leto the Second and Ghanima are going to be in the film adaptation of Dune Messiah. Jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, so we have some more Marvel news, Marvel Cinematic Universe news. And this article is on CBR, published by Lee Freitag. This was published 3 days ago. So, and this is a small bit of news, but it's big news. So, at the very bottom of this article, it says, so this article basically talks about Marvel Studios movies that are being added to the 2028 release calendar, right? And this article speculates what movies could be coming in 2028. And at the bottom of this article, it says, it says there's also an untitled X-Men reboot in development that Variety states will be directed by Jake Schreier, who was reported to be Marvel's top choice for the job and in early talks for the directing gig back in May. Okay. Jake Schreier directed. He directed another MCU movie, another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. He directed Thunderbolts, and Thunderbolts is great. It's wonderful. As somebody who lives with severe anxiety and depression, the Thunderbolts movie spoke to me on a personal level, and I cannot thank Kevin Feige and Jake Schreier and the filmmakers and the creative people involved. I cannot thank them enough for that movie, because that movie really, really got to me. It really, like, in a wonderful way, it really spoke to me on a personal level. So Jake Schreier directing an X-Men reboot movie, I think is a good idea, because he's already shown that he can direct ensemble pieces, with Thunderbolts, and I think if he can do, because let's face it, the Thunderbolts, the characters in the Thunderbolts movies, they're not the main characters. They're the side characters, and I think if Jake Schreier can do, can make that great of a movie with all of the side characters of the MCU, I can't wait for him to do an X-Men movie. Who will be in the X-Men movie has yet to be seen or yet to be revealed. But I think Jake Schreier is a great choice for this. So that is what I wanted to talk about. There's not much to go on, but I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about Jake Schreier directing an X-Men reboot movie. A couple more pieces of news this week. So a few weeks back, it was revealed that DC Studios' Sergeant Rock movie had been delayed, and then there were conflicting reports that there were reports that it had been delayed and then pulled off the release calendar entirely. And it was going to be directed by Luca Guadagnino, who directed most recently Challengers. And he directed this movie called Queer, starring Daniel Craig. And I loved Challengers. I haven't seen Queer yet. So James Gunn has offered an update on the Sergeant Rock movie. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser 3 days ago. This is what James Gunn told Entertainment Weekly about the Sergeant Rock movie. I feel like we're in a pretty good place. Gunn told Entertainment Weekly. This article's on Joe Blow. He said, "We're still moving forward, but it's not going to be. What would Peter want me to say here?" That's Peter Safran, who is the co-head of DC Studios. What would Peter want me to say here? So it's still moving forward, but yeah, right now it wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be creatively, so it needs to change a little bit. So that's why the movie's being delayed, or has been delayed. And which is okay, great. James Gunn has been on record of saying that DC Studios is going to be a story first, a script first studio, meaning the script has to be where they want it to be, where James Gunn and Peter Safran want it to be, before they greenlight it. And I think that's great. I think that's, it's a great move. So if the Sergeant Rock movie isn't where you want it to be, then okay, it's still moving forward. It just needs to be delayed a bit to get it right. Okay, great, awesome. I feel good that I'm glad that it's still moving forward. I was kind of disheartened when it was being delayed, but now that we know the reason why it's getting delayed, that's reassuring. So hopefully we get it soon. So yeah, the Sergeant Rock movie is still happening. So that's good. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that. So one last bit of news here. And I want to look up something before I do that. Okay. So let me see here. Excuse me, just sorry about this. Okay. So this is regarding an upcoming kind of thriller movie, like a fugitive thriller movie. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser 4 days ago. This article says, Rebel Ridge director Jeremy Saulnier is putting together his next movie, and Deadline reports that Corey Michael Smith is set to star. The new film is titled October, but not much is known about the project, with sources describing it as a fugitive thriller set during Halloween. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about this. I'm not familiar with Corey Michael Smith. I know he was recently he did this project called Mountainhead with Steve Carell and Jason Schwartzman. He played. There was this movie that came out, I think, last year or a couple years ago, called Saturday Night. It was about the formation of Saturday Night Live, and Corey Michael Smith played Chevy Chase. I still have to see that movie, by the way. Jeremy Saulnier is making this next movie, a fugitive thriller set during Halloween. Jeremy Saulnier is, I think, a very interesting filmmaker. Um, he did this movie. He's made some very interesting films. He directed this movie called Murder Party in 2007, which is great. Um, let's see, what else did he do? Um, he direct. Oh, yeah, he directed Blue Ruin and Green Room, and both are great. Green Room has Patrick Stewart is in it, and he goes against type. He plays a villain, and that movie is is great. Both Blue Ruin and Green Room are great. And then he did this movie called Hold the Dark, which is, I would say it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think it was, I mean, not to compare, but I think between Blue Ruin, Green Room, and Hold the Dark, I think Hold the Dark is lower in quality than Green Room and Blue Ruin. It's still pretty good. It's still pretty good. And then, like this article pointed out, he did Rebel Ridge, and Rebel Ridge is great. Rebel Ridge is great. So Jeremy Saulnier directing this fugitive thriller with Corey Michael Smith. Given Jeremy Saulnier's track record, I have every reason to look forward to this. The types of films that he's made, I'm very excited for this. So let's see if not. It does say that there's not much known about this. And but yeah, a fugitive thriller. Okay, that sounds, coming from Jeremy Saulnier. That sounds awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that for a little bit, and ladies and gents, that will do it for this week. It's kind of a longer show this week, but there was lots to talk about. Um, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed the show this week. Uh, I will be back next weekend, uh, and I'm sure I'll have plenty more to talk about. Um, there are a couple of movies that I am looking forward to go seeing. It's just a question of which one I'm going to go see first. Um, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. I love doing this. I love talking to you guys about about this stuff. And you know, I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and continue to do well, and until until next week, I will see you at the movies.